Silent Hill was first conceived in 1999. You play as Harry Mason as he searches for his missing adopted daughter in the eponymous fictional American town of Silent Hill, and thus beginning the curse. The game released to big praise, warranting a sequel which released just 2 years later in 2001. This time you play as James Sunderland, a widower who journeys to the town of Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his dead wife informing him that she's there waiting for him. It is there that he finds nothing but pain, suffering and punishment for his sins. Even now, Silent Hill 2 is praised as a masterpiece. Again, just 2 years later, Silent Hill 3. You follow the daughter of Harry Mason, Cheryl, or Heather, a teenager who becomes entangled in the machinations of the town's cult, and that's putting it simply. Silent Hill 3 has perhaps the most convoluted but best storyline out of any of the Silent Hill games. Games like Silent Hill 4, Homecoming, Shattered Memories and Downpour followed and tried ever so desperately to recreate the absolute miracle that was the original trilogy, but none even came close. They even attempted to create a movie adaptation, with the first one doing pretty much the bare minimum to not be ridiculed, and the second one so bad that even to this day they pretend it didn't even happen. And that leads us to now, where they have just announced a remake of Silent Hill 2. Now, why am I telling you this? If you have even the slightest clue about Silent Hill, then you already know this. Well, this is how massive Silent Hill was. People forget that. Despite its somewhat limited influence nowadays, at its peak it was massive. They don't just give out terrible and misguided movie adaptations to any old franchise, you know. Or maybe they do, but the point is clear, Silent Hill was big. However, calls for the series to make a resurgence have fallen on deaf ears for the past 10 years, but it seems that we can no longer be ignored. When we finally received news of a Silent Hill transmission, I was absolutely over the moon. I had to pinch myself to make sure that I was in fact not dreaming, because it felt surreal. However, this dream would soon become a nightmare. Before we begin, I just want to address the inevitable hate comments from people who are going to force themselves to like this remake because it's the first Silent Hill game in years by saying, "You think I like doing this?" I am a massive Silent Hill fan and think that Silent Hill 2 is the single greatest horror game ever made, if not the greatest horror game ever created, which is why I'm so disappointed in this soulless cash grab remake. I like to think I'm quite a positive person and will enjoy whatever media is thrown my way, but golly gosh, I just cannot bring myself to like this. I say this is a discarded franchise because I just don't believe that Konami know what to do with it anymore. In saying that, during the transmission, the section after the remake was merchandise, so it's clear where their intentions lie, but for me, they're just milking the success and critical acclaim of Silent Hill 2. Maybe one day I'll do a deep dive into the game and explain why it's such a masterpiece, but for now, let's talk about the remake. Let's start off with the obvious. The mirror scene.
Boy, here we go.
This actually offends me. The whole point of the original scene is that it sets the tone. What made this shot so good is that his face is shrouded in mystery. It is the game's psychological aspect at its best. You can't read him except for the fact that he's a broken man. In the remake, his face is highlighted, completely missing the point. It's kind of the issue with the HD collection. They made it more polished and it's like, no, that's not what we wanted because it makes no sense. Silent Hill is supposed to be grimy, disgusting and unnerving, not visible and clean. I actually got a bit of grief on Twitter for my opinions. I know, right? Absolutely unheard of. But like I say, I'm not doing this for fun. I hate that I hate this. Also, as you're probably aware, they announced 2 other games in the form of F and Townfall, whilst also a new movie adaptation of, yep, you guessed it, Silent Hill 2. As wonderfully pointed out by this guy on Twitter, the last time they pulled a stunt like this was 2012 and it went horribly. I guess I just don't understand why they're making a movie. I'll give credit to the original Silent Hill movie. At least it tried to do something different, what with it being a completely new story and cast of characters, bar 1 or 2 recognisable ones, but Revelations attempts to feed more into the series whilst also being completely different, and it's just very confusing. The scene where Pyramid Head turns to the good side and fights for the power of love is such a whiplash moment, and it kind of just proved how clueless they were. And whilst I'm sure the new movie won't make a mistake like that, it just confuses me. After Revelations, I never thought they would go down that route again. Revelations was so terrible they literally pretend that it doesn't exist anymore. They spend that whole transmission carefully stepping around it, only mentioning the first movie, acting like this new one is its sequel. It's absolutely crazy. I think that when the movie does come out, I will revisit all the Silent Hill movies and make a video analysing their strengths and weaknesses, but I'm not looking forward to it. Hopefully they learn from their past mistakes and create a true psychological horror experience just like the game all those years ago. Speaking of games, going back to the remake, I really don't see the point. It does seem like they're trying to go down the Capcom route with Resident Evil 2, but I just feel like that if they were gonna remake a game, why not the first Silent Hill? With 2 and 3 you can already play them on most platforms, but 1 is a total rarity. It also means they could have given the series the proper Resident Evil treatment, because I think people forgot about the fact that the first Resident Evil got a remake. Granted, it's not as polished and well done as the new remakes, but it's still there. I've seen a few criticising how James looks, but I actually don't mind it. I honestly think that's the least of the game's worries. Well, I stand corrected, but I just believe that the devs have kind of missed the point of the original and its meaning, especially when compared to Resident Evil 4 Remake, which seems to tick every box, but only time will tell. However, I do just want to give praise to Silent Hill F, because it's a completely new story set in 1960s Japan, which honestly sounds like everything I've wanted from the Silent Hill series for about 10 years now. As much as I love the idea of remaking past games to make them more updated and have better combat and whatever, I just want something new. I want originality. This is the one announcement I'm actually really interested in. The remake, on the other hand, kinda gives me all the wrong vibes, in case you couldn't tell. And as for the movie, I've already said my piece on video game adaptations, though you certainly have not heard the last of it. I understand it's been a minute since my last video, but I've been dealing with a lot of personal issues as of late, so thank you for sticking here. I have another video coming very soon, hopefully. I just have a few complications to sort out. Anyway, enough feelings. Thank you for watching. If you agreed with what I had to say here, or even if you didn't, feel free to leave a comment explaining your thoughts on the remake or the movie, or even F. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please consider subscribing. It really helps me out. And yeah, that's about all I have to say for now. Speak to you soon.